Well, New Zealand, you've only gone and done it again. Why does no one take us seriously on this show? We told you yesterday that the game was already over. Cameron Green said, you know what, I think New Zealand just a little bit in front. Did you, Cameron? Did you? No, you didn't. You also don't sound like that. But if you did, there'd be a few questions asked. What an amazing day for New Zealand, who, let's be right about this, have a good team. And have always had, well, not always, but have, you know, there have been some very good teams over the course of the years for New Zealand. And then every time they play against Australia, they turn up and give us this shit. But I got to tell you, you got to enjoy the laughs. You got to enjoy the laughs throughout the entirety of it. You know, Josh Hazlewood and Cameron Green bat for an hour. Williamson runs himself out for the first time in 12 years in Test cricket. Ravindra Jadeja is someone that plays for India, but this guy plays for New Zealand's got a similar name to him. He hits a half volley to point, and then it's what is it? It's just, I've just had a great day, Pezza. I've had another great day watching New Zealanders, for some reason, fuck it up against Australia yet again. But it's good news for the boys who enjoy their golf, because there are some wonderful golf courses in New Zealand, especially on the South Island, where the next test match is there in Christchurch. So let's preview the second test here, mate. Do you think Australia can go 2-0 up?
Yeah, dog. We've actually been spending the day interrogating a lot of the stereotypes sitting underneath the relationship between Australia and New Zealand. I like New Zealand. I like it.
Yeah.
I am Don Draper with it in cricket terms, but I like it and I respect it. Good players through history. But I do feel instinctively like a cat, a newborn pussy who just chases a bird and doesn't know why. Instinctively, I am casual and indifferent to New Zealand. I don't know where it comes from. I am ashamed of it. But after days like today, New Zealand themselves gave rise to that feeling. That is why. It's why we don't play against them. Okay, some New Zealanders might be saying, what about the end of the day's play? You know, we got you boys under the cosh. That's true. Okay, but this is our show. So yeah, man, Today was why Australians struggle to care, because it was some serious skeleton stuff that we were seeing. It was serious, it was the little brother stuff that they tell us about. Aptly narrated by Brendan Julian, who perfectly encapsulates our casual indifference to our Anzac brethren. You know, like he should be the lead commentator on every fixture between Australia and New Zealand, because nobody captures the feeling from our side better than him. Asking Cameron Green to bring out another bat so he can knock a few more in. That's basically what he did. Now, that's all arrogant. I appreciate that. Yeah. What I would say is, Cameron Green, 174 red. I would also say... and we will talk about Smith Optics in many different forms towards the end of the show.
Yes, we will. Yes.
Look, it's appropriate, I think, that we discover that Smith's eyes are increasingly painted on, and Green goes daddy at number 4. Sunrise, sunset, cats in the cradle, silver spoon, Oedipus, father-son stuff. Australia's regenerating.
Australia's commenced the day 279 for 9, and then they were eventually bowled out a week and a half later for 383. Hazlewood manfully made 22 off 62 deliveries. Josh Hazlewood batted 10 and a bit overs on what one would describe as a tricky wicket, if I could talk, which I cannot. Cameron Green, 174 red. The bowling figures there. Matt Henry finishes 5 for 70. Well done to Matt Henry, who was very good, to be fair to him. And then we get into the second innings of the game, and it was just chaos from the get-go, from the beginning. Wickets fell at 12, 12, 12, 29, 29 when Will Young was dismissed, strangled down the leg side from Mitch Marsh. It was 5 for 29. Then there was a partnership for a bit, and then wickets fell at 113, 113, then 161, 162, and then Matt Henry was the last man out for 179. Matt Henry, by the way, did make 42, which was great fun. Glenn Phillips was sensational, to be fair to him, trying to change momentum. It was too far gone at that point, but he made 71 off 70 balls. Williamson and Ratchin, when they were out, we knew the game was over. We knew we were going to get a weekend off. That was fun for the people that have to work on weekends. Not so good for the people that have been working for the weekends to watch some bloody good test cricket. It's a shame for them. The bowling figures, Stark 1 for, Hazelwood 2 for, Cummins 1, Mitch Marsh 1, and Lyon back in the polls after what's been a little bit of a lean summer, I suppose, maybe even since he tore his calf at Lords there during the Ashes. 4 for 43 for him. And then into the third innings, Pezza. Steve Smith out, third ball of the innings, bowled by Tim Southey, chopping on, wafting outside the off stump, and then Marnus was strangled down the leg side from Southey, who's now got 2 for the match. Nathan Lyon came in as night watchman batting at 4 and was dropped off the last ball by Tim Southey, who's having a very confusing game, I would say. Australia, they lead by 217 runs, 8 wickets in hand. It's only been 2 days of cricket, but those are all the things that have happened. But let's start with the beginning of today, Pezza, and what fun that was. Numbers falling in front of our eyes. Heroes at number 10, the 4th or 5th highest 10th wicket stand for Australia ever. And that's funny.
Yeah, that's what it was. Like, it went from a frustrating partnership to just a partnership. Cameron Green was finessing the strike and clubbing in equal measure. And doesn't he club it? Like, he's a real clubber of the cricket ball, knocking in a few bats along the way. And Hoff is looking like BC Lara after a while, and commensurately, the Kiwis looked like twos bowlers on what remained a pretty tricky deck. Don't know what else to say other than it's just very safe when the 10th wicket partnership bats almost the entire session, or what would be an entire session if it wasn't extended for half an hour due to 9 wickets being down. And look, I suppose from a numbers falling in front of face perspective, 174 red doesn't miss. We're getting greedy towards the end going, is a double on? Like, it was a double on for Cameron Green that meant every time he came to the crease, it would say higher score or HS with a 2 in front of it. And like, he's got the daddy that he needs in his life. But as it stands, I'm going to take a daddy 100 red at number 4, particularly when a couple of guys in the rest of the top order have their eyes painted on, as previously mentioned.
Pezza, I think, I'm not sure about you, but I think that the definition of daddy 100 has evolved over time as bats have got bigger, boundaries have gotten smaller, wickets typically have got a bit flatter, and that I thought like 130 or 140 used to be a daddy. Like, if you made 135, It's like, well, he went daddy today. Now, that's like, look, you've probably missed out on a 500 today. But I think 170 now is the benchmark of a daddy. You make 160, I'm like, yeah, he played well, but 170 is daddy. I think it's daddy. I think I'm cradling in the arms and resting my head against the bosom of my dad at 170. I think that's right.
The nation is the entire nation. What are we at? 26 million, I'd say. At this point, are being cradled, skin to skin contact. Cam Green, neck tattoo, shaved head, skin to skin. We're just born and we're suckling at the teat of dad. It's a wrong teat to suck, but that's what we're doing out of habit. We're just looking for food. We're hungry, cost of living, etc. Cricket, etc. Hey, speaking of that, by the way, if you do want to catch Gideon and Pete. Gideon Haig and Pete Lawler writing about Cameron Green and Bazball and everything else happening in cricket, and you don't want to pay Rupert Murdoch, you don't have to anymore. Just go to cricketetal.substack.com, proudly presented by a couple of us all together, including TGC. Pete's got a great piece, and he also wrote an article today about Cameron Green. The greening of New Zealand. So yeah, it was fantastic. It was fantastic, that skin to skin contact with Dad today. I agree on the daddy stuff as well. He goes, sorry, just to labour this point even further, and in a gross way. I agree with you about the number that you need to become like a daddy 100 maker or owner. And I think if you actually go higher into 180, 190, of course that's a daddy 100, but that's when you're into the areas of like missed out on a double. It's no longer a daddy. But
Disappointment stuff.
I appreciate what you say about the past as well. 130, 140. Like basically, what you're saying is someone becomes a father of 100 when they keep doing something of value after their 100 is made. Like it's not a case of I got my 100 now, I'm getting out because I have my milestone. Just a couple of things I needed to get off my chest and out of my head there.
It's a weird one, Pezza, with Australia scoring 383 because we kept hearing the statistics that the pass score in the first innings at the Basin was over 300, though more often than not, the team that wins the toss bowls first. So it was sort of confusing, but I just got the feeling, I said this yesterday, maybe a little bit too aggressively, but I did say yesterday that wicket had 140 all out written all over it if New Zealand had turned up and bowled properly on it. Fucking bowled properly. Now, look, mate. It's like in Test match standard, like if you made 170, I think you're still right in the game on that deck. So to make 383 on it, because Cameron Green has just cemented his space in the Test side for at least another entire year, probably longer if it wasn't already locked down because of basically because of the size of it. It feels like they're way too far in front of the game, and so let's talk about New Zealand's innings. Which, I mean, if you're a Kiwi, I would be guessing the last two series that New Zealand and Australia played against each other. The last time was in Australia was 2019-20, that summer out in Australia. Australia won that series 3-0, but the year after that, New Zealand went on to win the World Test Championship. Point being, they had a very, very good team, and they just have not done it against Australia. This side right now, I don't think it's as good as what that side was, but it's still a good team. And then you look at their first chance, their first crack at it against Australia at home, winning the toss, maybe getting slightly the more favourable conditions. Maybe it was still doing a fair bit. And then they put together that fucking car crash. I would be like, okay, this is just never going to happen in my lifetime. That's what I'd be thinking if I was a Kiwi fan, which I'm not. For me, it was just a good afternoon. It was a good Friday afternoon. It was 4 to 6 beers, knocking off from work. I'm having a good time. I'm talking out the side of my mouth. I'm looking at scores, and I'm having a wonderful start to my weekend, you know?
Totally, yeah. I mean, look, some Australian people may feel the same way when it comes to rugby against New Zealand. Some might, but thankfully it's not Aussie rules is the national sport of Australia, so it doesn't really exist, and rugby union's dead. I completely agree with you. Like, first thing I want to say, just in Australia's favour, is that does any team in modern cricket go to work the way that Australia's bowling quartet does? Like, literally clock in at 9 o'clock and just start hitting areas, channels, change up in pace, change down, level emotions, and just get results. I feel like New Zealand shat the bed as a result of just how much this quartet simply goes to work on an inconsistent
It's an H&R block. It's just H&R block. I go there for my tax return, job done. It'll come back to me.
And the results are there for all to see for the bed shit. It's like, it's a chop on here, it's a run out there. I'm slapping one at point slapping one to point here of a half volley. I'm tickling one down leg side. I'm basically telling you that you're in my head. It doesn't really matter how it comes about. And by the time Ratchin chops that one to point, that Nathan Lyon sort of takes on the burst, there's hyena laughing from Australia. The nation's laughing. It's like, oh, okay, New Zealand is gone here. The New Zealand's looking at us and just going, no, I don't like it. Cock's out stuff. I don't like it. Little brother. So anyway, and I suppose that's before we get to the Kane run out specifically, and sort of passing that Zapruder film style. But yeah, it was 3 for spit in no time, 29 for 5, and we move on to Christchurch.
Pezza, I think we're talking about reflexes here in the day's play, and what you rely on as a passport holder of one of these two countries. Even though we're like the kinship is so that you don't even need a fucking visa to enter another country. Sure, we're going to kick out a few more of the Kiwis out of here than what they would to us. But that aside, you can always rely as a reflex when there might be something aloof, something is afoot here of maybe some skullduggery. The reflex from Kiwis is, Australians are being cunts again. I know it. I don't know how, but I do know it. And so when Kane Williamson just has a classic hip and shoulder, up and under tackle from Will Young, his batting partner with Kane Williamson. He thinks, you know what? Australia's fucked me here. Australia have cheated. I know they have. I'm gonna linger here. I'm gonna have a chat with the fourth umpire. I'm gonna walk off the pitch very slowly. I'm gonna ask around. Am I talking to Maria Rasmus, who might be eating a mouse at the same time? That's a think of that one. And you're gonna be thinking, as Australia, have they done something fucked up again? Because they have been known to do that. But unfortunately, what's just happened is that he's taken a suicide single. Had he not run into his partner, it would have been very tight, or the throw would have gone to the other end and Will Young's run out. It was a crazy moment. But that kind of just sums it up. That's just the entire relationship in my lifetime of 30 plus years of Test cricket against our fairest brethren across the ditch. That it's just a complete fuck up when they play against us for whatever reason, you know?
And new levels of fuck ups too for mine, because in Kane Williamson, New Zealand had that one player in the opposition that Australians probably would nod at and acknowledge and maybe know his first name. You know? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know that. Oh, that's Kane Williamson. I used to play some junior reps with him or something. You know, that was the relationship with Kane. It's like, no, I know, like this guy can play. We sort of respect him, and we might just lay off, and we've done a bit of commercial work together and whatnot. And you believe to this day that Kane Williamson by himself is above the New Zealand little brother syndrome with Australia. But today, unfortunately for Kane, I think proved otherwise, because irrespective of what happens with Will Young and Stark being there was no run there at any point. If Stark does manage to do what a lot of soccer players plead to the ref about and disappear, if Stark can disappear, Marnus runs Kane Williamson out by a length. But then you have this little mix-up. Stark does nothing wrong. They crash into each other, and you think, wow, Kane, you suffer from this too. That's a shame. And then also the temerity. And I can, tell me if I'm wrong here, but to turn around several times, sort of, I thought, okay, maybe he's actually just having a crack at Will Young. That's fine. But then he comes off the field, and as picked up by erstwhile journalist Bharat Sundaresan, he's still in his full kit, helmet, bat, talking to the fourth umpire in the dugout, looking at replays before he goes to the sheds. Now, I suppose he's entitled to do that, but I'll tell you what, there's a word for this, and it's skeletons. That is classic skeleton behaviour. Mate, you just took a terrible run. It is no one else's fault. Great player. A lot of respect.
Great player, even better bloke, I'm sure.
Yes.
Skeletons. That's all we're saying.
It's skeletons behaviour.
Nathan Lyon was fantastic. Sort of highlighted that New Zealand made a mistake before the match even started by not picking a spinner. It was fucking ragging. Lyon right in the game from the very first ball, takes 4 for. He was tremendous. And then Mitch Marsh looked dangerous at the same time, bowling faster than all 4 of the New Zealand seamers as well. So there's that as well. Just I always keep saying as well. Shall we talk about our dear sponsor of the day, Pezza? Yeah. And indeed for this entire series, Smith Optics Australia, smithopticsaustralia.com. Use the code FAST for 25% off your order. When you go to checkout, just punch in FAST and you're going to get 25% off your order. Now, the reason I bring it up at this juncture, people may have already seen this, but if you want to join our community, if you want to become a member of TGC, you can go to patreon.com/greatcricketer. And during the course of last week for hashtag AskTGC Fridays, we discussed what we could do to fans to celebrate all of their sporting success and the teams that they like sometimes, all into one moment whilst getting onto television. And Muzz, our dear patron, has done that today, and he's humiliated himself for the patrons and our enjoyments. He's going to get his subs paid because that was part of the promise on Ask TGC Fridays, but he's doubled it off by wearing Smith Optics Australia, which also Usman Khawaja is wearing today. So that's another one in the bank. But that's what happened, Pez. It was incredible. It's a highlight of my season.
It is. It was one of the great moments of the decade. And it did start with Muzz's question to us on Patreon. It was a 2-parter. Don't worry about the first part. The first part was something to do with the enhanced games and James Magnuson and guys taking bulk stimulants and what would happen. The
Juicing.
second part of it was he's saying he's going to Wellington. He says, if I take an Australian cap to wear at some point, will the AFP intercept me at the airport? On my comically large Australian flag, do I write the name of my local footy club or is it my favourite NRL team? And lastly, how many AFL Guernseys should I pack to wear? So we started to talk about just how much nonsense you could get away with in New Zealand because they are far less like hands-on than Australia when it comes to their security. To their great credit, you know, they let adults be adults and they don't have four blokes pointing fucking machine guns at you wherever you go. Yeah. And so we challenged Muzz to see if he could get on TV wearing a combination of an Aussie Rules Guernsey, an Australian and comically large Australian flag, his NRL team written on the flag, which I think he used what New Zealanders would call twink, as in liquid paper, to write it on, and some Cricket Australia merchandise, which he not only did, but he made it a Legionnaires hat, the old flap hat, which are deeply practical and also alarming. And so to Muzz, we say congratulations. He topped it off by wearing Smith Optics, which I think was, like just a wonderful addition. That was nothing that we asked him to do. And now we're integrating him into a commercial arrangement.
Well done. So use the code FAST at checkout at smithopticsaustralia.com for 25% off your order. New Zealand finished 205 runs behind Australia in their first innings. I don't have the score right in front of me. What was it? They bowled for 179 in the end. And then Australia had to face what one would describe as a tricky period of 8 overs at the end of the day. Now, Steve Smith chopped on third ball. Marnus didn't last much longer, both out from Southie. Shall we talk about who's going to replace them in the next test match? Because they should never play again.
Yeah, I mean, Smith's one was there to hit. So I thought, like, Smith will be thinking he should have hit that for 4. So I don't know if I didn't catch it too closely. I don't think it did anything particularly bad off the deck. That's one that he's just played a bad shot to, or he's just executed his shot poorly there. I don't mean to like diminish it. Is it part of a bigger question about Smith? Maybe, you know. I suppose if you want to zoom out to it, are we talking about a decline? Is that something Smith wouldn't do in the past? Probably. I mean, I often think like. I think when we look back at Smith's career, like long into the rearview mirror, we'll say that his decline started after the Ashes in 2019. Which to that end was after a 1-year layoff. So, he exploded with Bradman-esque runs after the Ashes and then was never the same. That's what I think. But his never the same is still pretty passable. And you also never write off a champion, so I'm not doing that with Smith. I'm not jumping on that bandwagon.
No.
And you should read Pete Lawler's piece in Cricket et al. Today as well, unshackled from the sports editors from the Australian, talking about Steve Smith going to open the batting to help Cameron Green settle in at 4 as well. Cameron Green believing that for a couple of weeks that he would be the opener until Smith put his hand up to say do it. So. Yep. And then for Marnus, do you want to talk about Smith first?
Yeah. He did score 60 opening the batting against Shamar Joseph, etc. Just about a couple of weeks ago. So I don't think it's all doom and gloom, but the decline is there. I mean, it's just a fun one because now Green scored this wonderful man of the match performance. Whatever happens in the next innings in a bit, Green's going to be man of the match for that innings, and that locks him in for 4 for a while, which is the right thing to do. But I was just thinking about the players that Australia have had over time, given that Bradman and Ponting batted 3 in their careers for the most part, Border batted lower order, so did Michael Clarke, Steve Waugh batted 5. Steve Smith is the greatest number 4 that Australia has ever had. He's the best number 4 we've ever had. I think there's a motivational issue there as well with him feeling like he needed to reboot something, almost like a factory refresh, just to make him an iPhone now, to get it going again. He scored runs in the last game. It's going to be fine. But there's always going to be that thing of like, he's the best 4 we ever had in Test cricket. So I just think the best years are behind him. But as to exactly to your point, whatever the next rung is for him is still at least in the top half batters in the world, if not more. So I think it's fine. Marnus is a different one because he gets out in a way that it just looks like it's never going to score a run. At the moment, it looks all at sea, doesn't it? But I'm still backing him because he's still good. He averaged 60 for like 4 years in Test cricket, so he hasn't lost it. But it's a decline.
That's going to be
a drop off anyway.
Well, yeah, I just think he's deeply out of form. But I do think a lot of people, he's the next discussion point now. Travis Head won't be on that rack because he just did some of the greatest things ever in cricket when his country really needed him for the last year or so. I think Marnus is in and I think a lot of cricketers have been here, not at the Test level though, but I think Marnus is in cricketing hell at the moment. There are no runs for him, irrespective of what he does. And then compounding that, he had a technical issue. The confidence is gone now. There's very little proactivity and precision and intent about his batting. He's sitting back. We have all been there in one way or another playing cricket. I think he's into get away from the game territory. I'm talking have another child, reboot his life, take some mushrooms and find yourself kind of stuff. Yep. I think Marnus will be back. I think he's got class and he knows how to score runs at the top level, but it won't stop speculation about him, which is the standard that Australia holds for its number three. Number three just has to be scoring bulk runs at all costs and all times. That's what we ask for. You're right. Yesterday, he will receive some kind of reprieve in that Australia doesn't play Test cricket for 10 months after the next Test. So he has that time to get away and to fix whatever he needs to fix or to or do whatever he needs to do, and we'll see after that whether it's forever.
Yeah. Hashtag ask TGC Pezza. From a Kiwi, I believe.
Yeah, this came in from Michael. Just said this was at the start of the day after Australia made 383. He just said you blokes never watched a Test at the Basin before. Road day 3. You should declare now. You're fucked. Kane is king. Good luck.
Yeah, well, you know what? I love that energy. I love that aggression. I love the combativeness of it, whilst also being there's sort of some airs and graces about that as well. So I sort of like that. I like that correspondence. Obviously, no, I've never watched a game of the Basin. Why would I? I don't even know who Kane Williamson is. I sort of appreciate what you're saying, Pezza, that I could be, Bruce Wayne and you could be Alfred, and we could catch eyes with Kane Williamson and just sort of give that knowing nod, just okay, yep, respect. I've seen you score some runs against Pakistan at home or Bangladesh at home, when you guys play there. I don't know the names of your grounds. I don't actually know the names of your cities. I couldn't name more than 4 players in your side. I don't know what the population is. Don't know who your Prime Minister is. Good footy team. All the best. But this Test series is just none of your business. It's none of your business. Just turn up and be the Washington Generals, and we'll turn up and to be a H&R Block doing a tax return. We're just going to turn you over. We're just going to get it done. It's going to be back to you in 4 to 6 business days, and you're going to go about living your life, and so will I. So that's the exchange between our Anzac brethren.
Sorry, mate. You're the Washington Generals. We're H&R Block.
There's some good mixed metaphors there. That's not even a mixed metaphor. That's just fucking dumb.
Chuck that into Chat GPT images.
It's that famous old matchup. Mate. The Washington Generals and H&R Block.
H&R Block. A couple of employees come out in the basketball court, or I don't know. Maybe in the office.
I'm looking forward to the Patreon chat today with ChatGPT images of that exchange. Thanks as always for joining us here at TGC. I'm sorry about the arrogance, but that's what happens in these series. We'll see you guys at the end of the day's play tomorrow. Cheers.